Let's begin with the Mangala Charan. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhaye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Let's all chant together in full gratitude to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nasta Prayasta Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistuki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, onto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, onto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and onto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service onto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Let's look at the second verse and let's just meditate on this line. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed when we render service to the pure devotee. Right? Essentially, when we engage in any spiritual activity, if it's one off, meaning, just coming on a Sunday for a class like this, maybe, just maybe at the end of the class, we may have a spiritual high, a spiritual bliss. But what happens is, as time goes by, after a few hours, it just fades off, right? And there's sufficient research by Professor Daniel Goleman and Professor Richardson from University of Wisconsin. Both of them are Harvard graduates, right? They did their postdoctoral even in Harvard, if I'm not mistaken. And they have done extensive research which looks at if one is meditating one off, right? There is some gain in it, right? Feel spiritual high, etc. But if this person is constantly engaging in meditation, chanting of the Maha Mantra, right? Visualizing while the person is chanting, hearing, and also very, very deliberately being mindful on the breath, So when one engages in these activities, then what happens is on a daily basis, what you are doing is you are building this fortitude, this muscle, right? This muscle in our mind, this whole concept of neuroplasticity, which is essentially when the mind goes anywhere, because you are determined, right? You have a clear intention on spirituality, a clear intention on serving Nama avatar, right? When you have a clear intention, then what you're doing is when your mind wavers away, it's all right. I bring it back, right? I bring it back. This whole process of bringing it back, bringing the mind back to focus on the Supreme Lord, on the name, to meditate on the divine form of the Lord. When we do this again and again and again over many, many years, what is going to happen is that we will automatically begin to shine the soul quality of happiness, right? Equanimity, despite having, difficulties in life or even happiness in life. When these two struck us, we are still so balanced. We are full of compassion, right? We have this playful, soulful qualities. We are assertive. So all of these qualities, they become natural in us if we engage in these activities like reading of the Bhagavatam on a daily basis. Right? So it's not just Bhagavatam explaining this, but there is sufficient modern day research, modern day proof to convince us using data that this actually works. Let's oppose this to me just telling myself, okay, from tomorrow onwards, I will calm myself down. Right? I don't engage in any spiritual activities, but I make a clear intention that from tomorrow onwards, I will be a good boy. All right? I will not yell at anyone. I will control myself, etc. Right? It works for a while, but when we are suddenly challenged with a crisis, or suddenly someone comes and hijacks us, right? Or someone just comes and bring about an amygdala hijack in our mind, then our authentic self will come out, right? So, that's why sometimes even the sadhus, right, during the initial phase, they can control most of the time, but suddenly they will get very, very angry, right? Something which will just come and disappoint them. When someone says something, it will just be playing in their mind again and again. So that just shows us that we have not perfected this spiritual practice yet. And if we correlate this back to what we have learned in our Bhagavatam, we are a spirit soul. We are just so full of this amazing happiness qualities, compassion, right? Care for the others. This amazing quality of being conscious of ourselves, right? Being happy, being calm, all of these soul qualities. But what happens is, lifetime after lifetime, we have been conditioned. And therefore, this mud has been covering the entire diamond-like qualities within us. Okay? Therefore, we're not able to showcase this. But if we engage in hearing spiritual scriptures, if we engage in chanting, right, engaging in reading of the scriptures, etc., then slowly all of this dirt, this dust will start being removed. The Lord, as Paramatma in our heart, will behave like a vacuum cleaner or a washing machine or a dishwasher to remove all of this. And therefore, as time goes by, you begin to see all of these soul qualities in ourselves. That is why sometimes, when you meet a sadhu, you will realize, wow, this person is emanating this positive energy from him. He's got this aura around him, right? So this has been scientifically proven also. I'll take a pause here to see if you have any questions on this. Anush Prabhu, do you have any realizations to share on this? Shalini
No
Mataji,
realization, Prabhu. I'm just hearing. I'm just getting your realization, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying, Prabhu.
No, no, there's no realization, Prabhuji. I'm just hearing to your realizations and learning actually. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Shalini Mataji, what do you feel about this?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I feel what you say is totally correct. I'm a beginner, and for me, what you was saying earlier, yes, we come as this class as one off, and yeah, it fades off. We should, to be very honest, I believe I'm trying to keep some personal time every day where where we can read the book Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah,
So I'm
very
working on it, Prabhuji.
yeah. More
Thanks.
important than reading is also actually chanting the Lord's names, Mataji. Yeah.
Yes,
I,
I
I,
do.
I will share with you a personal incident. I will be vulnerable here, and Deepa Mataji, she will remember. Right around 6 years ago, the whole group of us went to Vrindavan. Okay, so they had always seen that very nice side of myself, very calm. But suddenly on that day, what happened is the prasadam, it just got, it went in a car. Deepa Maji, do you remember? The prasadam was all lost in a car because, you know, uh, because someone had mentioned that, yeah, just keep the prasadam at the back in the booth. While we were all coming from the booth, we forgot to remove it. And that was the time when this incident actually really triggered so much of anger in me. So that means that, we have not reached that stage, right? We can be calm to show others, etc. But, as they say, when the shit hits the fan, that's when our real self actually comes out. And I was really you know uh, was really very disturbed by actually what happened at that time, and I started yelling at the person. So that was not correct. And actually, it's very hard to control ourselves. It's very, very, very hard to control ourselves. But Krishna will explain in chapter number 13 in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Siddha Pratnya, which is the devotion would reach a stage in a devotee's life where the person is so calm even when this is happening, right? Because the person sees the hand of God in everything. Okay, let's move on with our class. Right. So today we will speak on the creation of the Kumaras by Lord Brahma. Okay, by Brahmaji. And then we will speak on the appearance of Lord Varaha. Right? Many a times, non-Hindus will ask, yeah, but your God also appears as a boar, as a pig. So how do you explain this? Right? How do you explain this to them? So let's begin. So Brahmaji created these 4 Kumaras, right? So what was the agenda given to Brahmaji? The agenda given to Brahmaji is all of these souls are all waiting for a body. The souls wanted to enjoy independently from the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord created the material world. The souls are now waiting for a body. The souls are waiting for the entire ecosystem for them to live in this material world. So then, where does this body come from? These bodies need to be created. And therefore, Brahmaji, what he did was he created these 4 Kumaras first. He created these 4 Kumaras and he says that you now go. I'm empowering you to create more and more living entities in this material world. But the Kumaras were not interested at all, right? They were interested in the Brahman effulgence of the Supreme Lord. They felt that, why do I want to engage in this material activity of reproducing, of creating, and then get into so much of issues along the way, I will forget about my ultimate goal of emerging into this Brahman effulgence. So we are not interested, oh Father. Right? They were not interested in this procreation. Then the four Kumaras, right? They recognized who Vishnu is, but they did not know that the personal form of the Lord is much, 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 much greater than the Brahman effulgence which they were meditating in all this while. Right? So therefore, when they went to the gatekeepers of Vaikunta, the gatekeepers who are Jaya and Vijaya, they refused to allow these four little boys to go and see Vishnu. And these four boys were very, very, very upset. Right? And they finally, right, Vishnu came out to see them, and they started complaining about Jaya and Vijaya, about the two gatekeepers. And therefore, later on, we will learn that Jaya and Vijaya, therefore, they were punished by Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu then gave them a boon, right? That, you can either remain on earth, right, for a very, very, very long time, right, as devotees, or you can be part of my Leela. You can be part of, my pastimes. And therefore, you can appear as demons. When you appear as demons, I will come in and kill you, all right, kill your material body. And therefore, the entire process will be much shorter than you living as devotees on earth. And therefore, Jaya and Vijaya, who are the gatekeepers of Vaikunta, they felt that we rather come down as demons, and within a short span of time, we can come back and re-serve Vishnu as the gatekeepers. We cannot imagine life without this service. And therefore, they took the second option, which was to come as demons, be killed by the Lord, and then they come a few times. We will learn all of this later on, right? So that then brings us to the nice segue on the appearance of Lord Varaha. But the point I wanted to make was that these four Kumaras, they were not keen in material life. They were not keen in procreation. Okay. So what Brahmaji did was, he first created the nascent engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after being frustrated, right? The clinging on of anger, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception, or the forgetfulness of one's real identity. Now all of us must be wondering, what is Brahmaji? He created all of these negative elements. That's the reason why we are going through so much of difficulties. What do you think? So Brahmaji started with creating all of these nascent engagements, these ingredients which were recipes for forgetting the spiritual supreme personality of Godhead. Any reflections, realizations why he had to do this?
Because this is the design of the material world, actually, because it is away from the spiritual world. So it is already a negative place. So naturally the negative elements had to come, is what I think. You can explain.
Yeah, bring it to the next level. Anyone else? Deepa Mataji.
Prabhuji, I'm having fever. I'm just attending the class.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anyone else? Why does Brahmaji create these negative elements? And by the way, in some Abrahamic religions, they cannot accept this. And therefore, they introduce the concept of, the devil. But in our scriptures, it's explained that all of these negative elements were produced by the secondary creator. It's very easy. Every week we actually discuss this, So the question may be raised, why the Lord, who is all merciful, right? He should allow us to remember him. Why is he making us forget him with all of these nascent engagements?
Because we wanted to enjoy outside, outside
Exactly. Yes, because
independently.
we wanted to enjoy independently from the Supreme Lord. And therefore, Brahmaji had to create this because we wanted this. Right? As living entities, as part and parcels of the Lord, right? This partial independence was given to us. Right? And therefore, we wanted to take advantage of this and become fully independent from the Lord. So anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it due to ignorance. And when the living entity, they prefer to misuse this independence and glide down towards this nascence, the all-merciful Lord, first of all, will try to protect this person from the trap. But when the living entity persists in gliding down further and further, then the Lord will help him to forget the real position because this person wanted it. So therefore, the Lord is helping the falling living entity glide down to this lowest point just to give him the chance to see if he is happy by misusing his independence. Therefore, all of the conditioned souls who are rotting in the material world are actually because they are misusing their independence. And therefore, these 5 kind of nascents are imposed on them, right? These 5 kind of nascents, I'll explain very, very shortly. What are these negative elements which are imposed onto us? And therefore, Brahmaji, he starts to do this. Let me see whether I have those 5, right? So this is, the purport is here. You can read it later on. It's because we wanted to enjoy independently, and therefore the Lord, first and foremost, said, no, don't do it. But no, we want to enjoy. We want to do it. We want to see what it's all about. Curiosity killed the cat. And therefore, here we are. So what are these 5 kinds of nascents which are imposed onto us? We know all, number 1, that the first nascents would be like us forgetting that we are a spirit soul. Us forgetting that we are not this material body. That's the first nascence which is given to us. So it begins with us rejecting the Lord's service. We want to be independent. And then comes Anda Tamisra, which is considering death to be the ultimate conclusion. Right? So if today you just go to Raffles Place, do a quick survey, what happens after that? Most of them will tell you it's zero, nothing. They do not know that life still continues after that. They feel death of the material body is actually the final destination. They do not know this. Right? And it's not that it was created by us. It was given to us because we wanted this notion. The third kind of nascence is tamas, which I just explained moments ago, which was ignorance of our position as a jiva, as a spirit soul, right? As a spirit soul, our constitutional position is to reconnect with the Lord. But no, we want to enjoy independently. And the fourth kind of nascence is the Maya conception of life, the illusory bodily conception of life, that I'm this body. My focus should be on just the bodily concept of life. I'll keep on polishing the cage, but I forget about feeding the bird, which is I'll keep on taking care of my bodily needs, but I forget that deep down, I'm actually not the body. I invest so much of energy on taking care of my body, but I forget that actually I'm just the spirit soul. The body remains here, but the spirit soul goes on to the next destination, depending on what's my consciousness. And the fifth kind of nascence is Mahamoha, right? Sometimes in Hindi we say Mo Maya, which is attachment for material enjoyment. And this attachment for material enjoyment will cloud our pure spiritual consciousness of the Jiva. Coming back to my earlier point about us being a diamond, spirit soul, but all of this material enjoyment, this conditioning, they are all clouding our spirit soul. They are clouding these diamond-like features of happiness, Satchit Ananda. We can't see these qualities anymore because the mud has covered all of this. Okay. So take a moment to look at these 5 kinds of nascence and how they are actually affecting our lives. Before coming for our classes, we had, clearly rejected our Lord's service. Of course, we are all born in Hindu families, so it's not really the case. All of us have been going to the temple, etc. We have been seeing that, the Supreme Lord is the giver of everything, and we need to serve Him. Right? And then, before coming for classes, before understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, right? We knew possibly the concept of the soul, but maybe we didn't even realize that life does not end at that. So like this, just keep on reflecting on these 5 points. And these 5 points were introduced by whom? Who introduced these 5 kinds of nascence?
Brahmaji.
Brahmaji.
Exactly. Right? Okay, so Brahma created this ignorance, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, the illusory bodily conception, and our forgetfulness of one's real identity. These are the 5 elements of nascence. And therefore, all the conditioned souls are rotting in this material world because of the independence. And therefore, Brahma, he was very, very obedient. And therefore, he created all of this as a matter of necessity. But don't think that Brahmaji is happy doing this, No. He wants us to reconnect immediately with the Lord. And therefore, if given a chance, he would not have done this. But because he's instructed, and therefore he's doing. But he's not happy in doing this service because a devotee of the Lord, naturally a devotee of the Lord is para dukha dukhi, right? The dukhi of another soul is my dukha also, right? But what has happened in this material world is we become para dukha sukhi. When someone is in difficulty, there's a chance that we are happy. Oh, this is nice. Or we become para sukha dukhi. When someone else is not happy, we are happy. Or we become para dukha sukhi, which is when someone else is happy, we are unhappy about this. Right? So Brahmaji is not too pleased about this service, but he still has to do it. So now we will discuss about the 4 Kumaras. Brahmaji created the 4 great sages or the 4 Kumaras. Okay. And the 4 Kumaras are the ones who started this Kumara Sampradaya. Okay. Or currently it's known as the Nimbaka Sampradaya. Right? So in the beginning, the Lord created the 4 sages, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanat, and Sananda. These are the four Kumaras. Okay. Brahmaji wanted them to engage in materialistic activities and create the other living entities, but they did not want to adopt these materialistic activities. Okay, you can see this small little boy, 4 little boys. Okay, you can see they are going to Vaikunta, etc., to see the Lord. When they see the Lord, they are like, wow, before they see the Lord, they see the Lord's lotus feet. When they see the Lord's lotus feet, actually they are smelling, right, the aroma of the tulsi manjaris, right, and that evoked that devotion in their hearts, right? Just by smelling, they said, wow, the Lord is so majestic. All this while we were just focused on the Brahman effulgence. The personal form of the Lord is so amazing. So we learned all of this, or we will go through this later on. Right? So now the storytelling elements of the Bhagavatam starts. From now onwards, it's all storytelling. Right? All the factual stuff around creation, etc. We have completed all of this. So the four sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, they declined to become family men, even at the request of their great father Brahmaji. Right? Those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled in these false orders or the false relationships of family bondage. That's why you have got these brahmacharis, who take up the brahmacharya vow and they do not want to engage, in procreation, etc. Similarly, you have the sannyasas who do not go into this. So for them they can refuse the orders of Brahma, okay, because above Brahmaji is the supreme Lord. And therefore there is an injunction in the Bhagavatam which explains that, okay, if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, then he is no longer indebted to his parents, right? To society, to his lineage, etc. So in Bhagavatam 11.5.41, it's explained that anyone who has completely given up all worldly relationships and has taken absolute shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, this lotus feet of the Lord gives us salvation. And the Lord is alone, and who alone is fit to be taken shelter of, right? All of this person is no longer a debtor or servant of anyone. Whether, we consider ourselves as a servant of our fathers, our forefathers, the demigods, the sages, the living entities, the relatives, or the human society. So anyone who has done this, they are removed from this obligation. Thus, there was nothing wrong in the acts of the Kumaras when they refused their great father's request that they become family men. Okay. So, who is in this today? Let's see who is in the class. We have Lalita, Manoj, Priyanka, Sharda, Shefali. Let's do an experiment here. We have Manoj, for example. Manoj here, right? Manoj, you're a father. You have 3 beautiful sons, amazing children. If one of them tells you that, Papa, I'm not interested in getting married, how will you feel about this? Okay, I'm not interested in continuing our lineage. I just want to serve the Supreme Lord. Okay. How will we feel about this? Okay, maybe you are shy to answer.
In my opinion, I leave the life up to them to decide.
Okay, wonderful. Great. You have empowered them. So what Brahmaji did was, Brahmaji was upset. Okay. I have a mission. The Lord has asked me to increase, right, the living entities in this material world. Provide them with this ecosystem. Provide the bodies for these souls who wanted to enjoy independently. And now, these 4 sons of mine whom I've created, they do not want to continue with this service. So he was very upset. Brahmaji is in the mode of passion because he has to create. And therefore, with this passion, with that anger in him, right, from his, in between his eyebrows, Rudra appeared. Okay, Rudra appeared. So you must be wondering, who is Rudra? Right? He's just a partial representation of Lord Shiva. Okay? Just a partial representation of Lord Shiva. So Brahmaji could not curb his anger. And therefore, such anger, right, the true color came from between the eyebrows of Brahma as Rudra. And Rudra came in a mixed color of ignorance and passion, blue and red, because that anger is the product of passion and ignorance. But mind you, Brahmaji did not scold his children. Okay, just like Manoj. Manoj has got the divine qualities in him, right? And did not scold, all right? He understood this, but again, he felt that, yeah, I created them. I'm empowered to create them, and now they're not listening to my instructions, and therefore Rudra appeared from the eyes. And therefore, Rudra, you have 11 other names. You can be called by Manu, Manu, Mananisa, Mahan, etc. And then what Brahmaji also created was, okay, Rudra also then had 11 wives called the Rudranis. They are as follows: Di, Driti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swada, and Diksha. Right? So what happened was, Rudra was produced, and Rudra now have 11 wives, and therefore this procreation was now the responsibility of Rudra. Okay? So unlimited number of offsprings were produced by Rudra and the 11 wives. Now let's reflect on Rudra. What was the nature of Rudra? All right. He was produced from the anger of Brahmaji. In our class, we have learned that whatever conception or whatever was the nature of the parents at the time of procreation, that consciousness will go in that child. Right? Similarly, Brahmaji, Rudra appeared from between his eyebrows. Brahma was angry, and therefore Rudraji's natural inclination was also anger. His children's natural inclination was also anger and destruction. Now, you'll realize that Brahmaji's work was creation. Along the way, Rudra was produced, and Rudra's natural inclination together with the sun's natural inclination is destruction. So Brahmaji then said, wait a minute, here I'm supposed to be creating, and there, my son and my grandsons are destructing, are annihilating. And therefore Brahmaji went to Rudra and told Rudra, take a time out. Okay, this is not what the plan is. You please go to the forest and meditate. Calm yourselves down. Right? Brahmaji told Rudra, you go meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Calm yourself down. That is now your goal. Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that whatever a great leader does, the rest of the praja will then follow. Therefore, what Brahmaji wanted to happen was that seeing Rudra, or the father of all the children of Rudras, right? So seeing the father engaging in this sattva meditation, in this sattvic activity, the hope was that all of the children of Rudra will also become sattvic and stop this destruction process. Are you all with me?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, so it's making sense. Huh? Brahma, because of the anger, the four Kumaras did not want to procreate. Rudra came from the eyes. Rudra then got married to 11 Rudranis, lots of offsprings, and the offsprings began to destruct because that was their natural inclination, being born out of ignorance and passion. Brahmaji then instructed Rudra, the father, to go to the forest and engage in spiritual activities, meditating on the Supreme Lord, getting into Shuddha Sattva, in the hope that the children will also follow. So now, Brahmaji had to restart the whole creation process. So what does he do? Right? He then gets 10 sons. Right? So, just by conceiving from different parts of the body, right, he was able to produce these sons. So, for example, who do we have here? We have Narada Muni. So, Narada Muni was actually produced from his reflection and realization and meditation. Narada Muni was actually produced. Narada Muni was therefore in the mode of pure goodness. Okay. Brigu was produced from the thumb of Brahmaji. Right? So like this, all of these sons were then produced. The sons then were asked to procreate. Right? And then Brahmaji then created the 4 Vedas, right, spoken from the 4 mouths of the 4 heads of Brahmaji. Right? And the 4 principles of religion, which is truth, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness, were then also produced by Brahmaji. Remember when we spoke on Kali Yuga, the start of Kali Yuga, right? Parikshit Maharaj wanted to kill Kali, personified Kali, because with the start of Kali Yuga, right, austerity, mercy, cleanliness, all right, they were all reduced to zero, or were slowly being reduced. You would remember, right, how Mother Cow was crying, and then the bull had 3 of its legs cut off. The 3 legs were represented by austerity, doing penances, mercy, being merciful on others, including all the living entities, the animals, and cleanliness of our mind, our surrounding, etc. So all of these religious principles at the start of Kali Yuga became reduced and reduced. Today, what is remaining is only truth. Even truth, okay, is being compromised. You may wonder why truth. Why is it that truth is still existing in Kali Yuga? It's because the truth is carried in scriptures like Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads. Okay. So coming back to this story on the creation, Brahmaji created the 4 Vedas and the 4 principles of religiosity. Remember that these principles of religiosity and the Vedas were produced much later, after Brahmaji had already produced the negative elements to bind us into this material world, because we wanted to enjoy independently from the Lord. Okay. Then Brahmaji also created medical science, military art, musical art, architectural science, all from the Vedas. They all emanated one after another from the front face of Brahmaji. He then created the fifth Veda, which are the Puranas, the Itihastas, right? So the Itihastas are like the Mahabharata and Ramayana. You may be wondering, yeah, but they happen after, long time after Brahma created as the secondary creator of the universe. Yes and no, because the same Ramayana, the same Mahabharata has already been going on in other universes. Even in our universe, maybe before this existing Brahma, before the start of this existing Brahma's life. So all of these istihastas has been going on again and again and again. That is why, right? Even today, Krishna's pastimes are being enacted, right? In Vrindavan, in probably in another universe. Okay, so Brahmaji then created the fifth Veda. Brahmaji also created this real nice, positive elements like education, charity, austerity, penance, truth. Right? Created all of this. And together with this, Brahmaji then created the systematic order of the Varna ashram. Right? So the Varna would be, right? So we have got the four social groups, the Brahmacharyas, the Grahastas, then partial retirement or the Varna Prashta, and then the retired life or the sannyas. Right? So these are the four Varnas. And then you also have the ashramas. So those are the ashramas. Then the four occupational groups will be the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, right? The Vaishyas and the Sudras. So, but why were the four different classes also introduced? It is because the living entities, they had the natural inclination for this kind of work, right? Certain entities, living entities, they were more into the Brahmanical way of living. They were more into teaching the scriptures, etc. And therefore, from this, the Brahmanas were born. Some of them had the natural inclination for defense, and therefore the Kshatriyas, the administrators, were born. And then some of them were, empowered with this prowess of productivity, business insights, etc. And therefore they became the Vaishyas. And then finally you have the Sudras who were great with their skills. So you can see systematically all of these are being introduced by Brahmaji. Okay, so remember, Kumara's project failed, and therefore the Lord produced Rudra from Brahmaji's eyebrows, between the eyebrows, and then that project was also sort of failed because the Rudra and the children, they started destructing. And then Brahmaji created these 10 sons. One of them was Narada Muni. Okay, Narada Muni was always in the mode of pure goodness, and therefore his work was, whenever he met anyone who was in nascence, in ignorance, in passion, his work was to ignite the sattvic guna or the Shuddh Sattva in their hearts. We saw the case of Ratnakar, who became Valmiki because of the association of Narada Muni. We saw the case of Mrigari, right, who from a hunter became a great devotee. We saw Dhruva Maharaj, how he became a great devotee. Initially, he was wanting a kingdom greater than his grandfather Brahma, greater than his father Uttanapad. Right? And finally, the Lord, as Vrishnigrabha, Vishnu, came and blessed him. And then he realized that why was I being so passionate asking for broken pieces of glass when I could actually engage in the divine, or engage in the pure devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So like this, Narada Muni was one of the sons whose work was to remind us that we do not belong in this material world. Right? And the role of Narada Muni is now taken by all our spiritual masters who travel around the world to bring this knowledge to all of us. And it doesn't stop there. The science of logical argument, right? Grammar, law and order, moral codes, and also the Gayatri mantra and the Pranava Omkara or Om. All of this was manifested from Brahmaji. Okay, so Brahma then introduced the Om to all of us, the Gayatri mantra to all of us. So now we know that Brahmaji has 10 sons. Narada Muni is one of them. These 10 sons were not, right? Brahma saw that in spite of the presence of these sages of great potency, there was still insufficient increase in population. And therefore he thought, what could I do? He seriously began to consider how the population could be increased. The souls were all waiting for a body. So while he was absorbed in this contemplation, a great miracle happened. 2 forms appeared from his body. All right? 2 forms were manifested from his body. One was the form of a man, and one was the form of a lady. All right? Maybe the close resemblance to what is in the Abrahamic religions on Adam and Eve. So now Brahmaji has these 2 living entities, a man and a woman. Who is the man and who is the woman? Right? So the one who had the male form, he was known as Manu. You know, that's where the word man comes from. Or Swayambhuva Manu. And the woman became known as Satarupa. Okay. So these 2 emanations, then they started procreating. And we are all coming from them. Okay. So thereafter, by sex indulgence, they gradually increase generations of population one after another. I'll just take a time check to see what's the time right now. Any questions in the meantime? It's nearly 10 o'clock. Any questions? There are 17 of you today. Anyone? The quiet ones, please ask a question. Interesting, isn't it? Bhagavatam explains all of this so nicely. Okay, so while we are speaking on Brahmaji, let's just reflect, who is this Brahma actually? Why is he the one who has been designated as the secondary creator? So Brahma is the personal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the source of transcendental sound, and is therefore above the conception of the manifested and the unmanifested. Okay, this is from the Bhagavatam. And the Brahma is the complete form of the absolute truth and is invested with So many energies. The purport by Srila Prabhupada is as follows. The post of Brahma is the highest responsible post within the universe. And who is this post given to? It is offered to the most perfect personality of the universe from, right, from the previous times or the previous yuga or the previous manvantara, right? So whoever was the top person was then given this role to assist the Lord. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead has to himself become Brahma when there's no suitable living being to occupy the post. You know? So for example, sometimes the CEO will also become the CFO when there's no real candidate for the CFO position. Sometimes the Prime Minister also becomes the Chief Finance Minister in Singapore. It has happened before, right? When there is no suitable candidate for that position. So sometimes the Supreme Personality has become Brahma when there are no suitable living beings to occupy the post. In the material world, Brahma is the complete representation of Vishnu or Krishna or Ram. And the transcendental sound, the pranava or the om, actually comes from him. Because he's the most perfect personality, he's invested with all these multifarious energies from all the devatas. Right? So the energies of Indra, Chandra, Varuna are all manifested in Brahmaji. Therefore, the transcendental value is not to be minimized. But let's not forget, even Brahma can be overwhelmed by Maya. Even Brahma sometimes forgets who he is, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. Even Maya can actually come and perplex Brahmaji. We saw in this Brahma Vimohani Leela, where he was not sure who is this Krishna, who is this small little cowherd boy, right, who is killing all of these great demons in Vrindavan. Let me see whether he's able to, what he will do if I capture all his friends and all of these cows. So we know what happened after that, right? The Lord created all of these cowherd boys and the calves. And Brahmaji then offers his prayers, his pardon to the Lord. So, O Bharata, O son of Bharata, who is the son of Bharata? Bhagavatam, text 56. Who is the son of Bharata? Any idea? Vidura, okay? So, in due course of time, Manu begot in Satarupa 5 children. 2 sons who are Priyavrata and Uttanapad. Uttanapad is the father of Dhruva Maharaj. Okay? That is why Brahmaji is Dhruva's grandfather. Dhruva or great-grandfather. Dhruva, Uttanapad, Manu, and then Brahmaji. Or from Brahmaji came Manu, from Manu came Uttanapad, from Uttanapad comes Dhruva. So Manu and Satarupa had 5 children, 2 sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapad, and 3 daughters, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasati. Right? So we will learn more about Devahuti very, very soon. The father, Manu, handed over his first daughter, Akuti, to the sage Ruchi. The middle daughter, Devahuti, to Kardama Muni, and the youngest, Prasuti, to Daksha. From them, all of the world began filled with population. Okay. So let's reflect once again on why the 4 Kumaras could say no to Brahma. because they had given up, right? They wanted to serve the Lord. So Bhagavatam explains that such living entities who have surrendered and given up everything just in the pursuit of pure devotional service of the Lord, they can, right? They can be forgiven from all of these responsibilities. So in this picture, you can see how when the four Kumaras told the father that we are not keen. Priya, what's wrong? Rain, is it? Yeah. It's really heavy. You have an umbrella? So there you can see from the eyebrows of Brahmaji, Rudra, who is bluish and reddish, he is appearing. Right? So, and earlier on in the class, I also spoke about how the four Kumaras, when they approached Vaikuntha, they were not allowed in. Right? They were not allowed in, and therefore Vishnu, right? He gave a boon to the Jaya and Vijaya, who were stopping the four Kumaras, and he said that, okay, if you want to be removed from the sin of stopping these four Kumaras from coming to see me, you either be on earth for a very, 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 very long time as devotees, or you be born as demons and be part of my Leela. And what Jaya and Vijaya did was, actually, if you go to any Vishnu temple today, you will see Jaya and Vijaya in the front. Even when you go to Japan, right, in the Japanese shrines, you will actually see still Jaya and Vijaya there. So in Satya Yuga, right, Jaya and Vijaya came as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. In Treta Yuga, Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers, came as Ravan and Kumbkarana. In Dwarpa Yuga, during Krishna's time, Jaya and Vijaya came as Sishupal and Dantakvatra. Right? They are friends of Kamsa and Dasaran. All right, so it's a nice segue into looking at the story of Hiranyaksha. Right? Jaya and Vijaya, their first incarnation or reincarnation was as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Now we will go deeper into the story of Hiranyaksha. Okay. So before that, let's just look at the 10 principal incarnation of Lord Krishna. The Lord appears as fish in Satya Yuga to save Manu from the water disaster, the same Manu we spoke about, right? And therefore, he takes Manu's boat with one of every species of plant and animal. Then we have Kurma, the tortoise or the tortoise in Satya Yuga. The Devas and the Asuras were churning the ocean of milk, right? And the pivot was Mount Mandara. This Mount Mandara began to sink, and therefore the Lord took the form of a tortoise to bear the weight of the mountain. If you go to Bangkok, you can actually see this whole churning and the Mandara mountain as the pivot. Then you have Varaha in Satya Yuga again. And we will discuss the pastimes of Varaha very, very shortly. The fourth principal incarnation is Narsinghadev, also appeared in Satya Yuga, okay, to kill Hiranyakashipu. The third incarnation, Varaha, killed Hiranyaksha. Okay, Jaya and Vijaya, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. In Satya Yuga, the Varaha, the Lord came as Varaha to kill Hiranyaksha And the Lord came as Narsingadev to kill Hiranyakashipu. Okay, part of the Leela of the Lord. Then the Lord came as Vamanadev in Treta Yuga. Okay, there's a beautiful pastimes with Bali Maharaj where the Lord just asked for 3 steps of land. Then Parshuram, the warrior with the axe, came again in Treta Yuga. Then Rama, again in Treta Yuga. Then Krishna, who is the supreme person, he came to enact his pastime again as Krishna. Then Buddha, sometimes we say Balram is also an incarnation of Krishna. And then we have Kalaki, who will come at the end of Kali Yuga. Okay, there's a chat which came in. Why are there very few or hardly any temples of Brahma? Manojji is asking. Actually, there is. You can go to Pushkar. Pushkar, there is a temple of Brahmaji. They have the Pushkar lake. And then at the end of Kartik, during Kartik Purnima, there's a big festival over there. Brahmaji was actually, it's explained in Bhagavatam, right? He was punished because one of his creation was a lady, right? And he had some desires with his own creation. And therefore, you see how Maya came to confuse him. And because of that reason, you do not have many temples of Brahmaji. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is his wife. I stand corrected if I'm wrong on this. His wife, Swaha, she was not invited for one of the fire sacrifices being conducted, right? And therefore, she cursed him that you will not be worshipped in any of the temples except in Pushkar. And that's the reason why also when we are engaging in the fire yagyas, at the end of every mantra, we will say Swaha, which is the wife of Brahmaji. Okay, so those were the 2 reasons. If I remember correctly, those are the 2 reasons why Brahmaji has hardly any temples in the world. Okay, anyone would like to add to this answer? Okay, right. So now remember, while Brahma was creating Rudra and the children, they started annihilation, and he said, stop, this has to stop. And now Brahmaji is thinking, while I'm still engaged in the process of creation, what happened was earth, all right, became inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in the matter of creation? So earth was actually pushed down from its orbit and it went all the way into the Garbhodakshai ocean. And therefore Brahmaji said, I need to be saved, right? This entire earth needs to be brought back into orbit. It has to be within these 14 planetary systems and not all the way down. And therefore he started meditating, oh Lord, you gave me this work to do, but now, you know, I'm stuck. Because while I'm creating this 14 planetary system, Earth, or it's not Earth, sorry, the entire universe was pushed down to the Garbhodakshai ocean. Okay. So he started praying. All of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, then suddenly from his nose, a small form of a ball came out from his nostril. Right? So just imagine Brahmaji, one small ball came out from the nose, and the ball became expanding, and expanding. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. It was so small. So while Brahma was observing him, the ball became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as gigantic as a huge great elephant. Okay. So from the eyebrow, between the eyebrow of Brahmaji, Rudra appeared. And now from the nose, the Lord himself appeared as Varahadev. Why did the Lord appear? Because Brahmaji was meditating on the Lord for help. And therefore the Lord appeared in an inconceivable form as a hog with the tusk. And the tusk were to bring the universe back from the Garbhodakshai ocean all the way up. Okay, so you can see over here, Lord Varaha, the boy incarnation from Satya Yuga, he appeared to defeat the demon Hiranyaksha. Okay, a demon who had taken the earth. Okay, so it's not the universe, the earth, and carried it to the bottom of what is described as the cosmic ocean. I stand corrected, it's the earth. Initially I said earth, then I said universe. Actually, it's just the earth. So these are the 14 planetary system, beginning with Brahma Loka or Satya Loka, Tapar Loka, Jana Loka, Mahar Loka, Swarga Loka, Bhuvar Loka, Bhuloka. So we are at Bhuloka, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, etc. And then the Garbhodaksha ocean. So Bhuloka was taken out of orbit and pushed down into the Garbhodaksha ocean. All right, so this was pushed down and it went out of orbit, and therefore Brahmaji said, "Oh Vishnu, please help me." And therefore Vishnu appeared from his nostril to reinstate earth. Okay, understand? Huh? So who pushed earth down? Hiranyaksha. All right, Jaya and Vijaya, one of them, incarnated as Hiranyaksha to be part of the Lord's Leela. So then the Lord, right, fought a battle as Lord Varaha with Hiranyaksha, and the Lord carried earth out of the ocean between his tusk and restored its place in the universe. Okay. If you read Bhagavatam, it's explained that sometimes the Lord appears in white or the Sweta Varaha, and sometimes he appears as red. Okay. So this is just the Lord's inconceivable potency. He can decide however he wants. So you can see over here, in between the two tusks, the Lord brought the Bhuloka back into orbit. Playing like an elephant, Bhagavatam says, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by great devotees, including Brahmaji. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Purport by Prabhupada explains that the form of the Lord in any shape is always transcendental and full of knowledge and mercy. All right, so you cannot say, "Oh, appear as a boar." Why? As the Lord wishes. The Lord is always transcendental. The Lord is the destroyer of all material contamination because his form is totally spiritual. The form is personified Vedic knowledge. All the Vedas worship the transcendental form of the Lord. Okay. So then Prabhupada continues, we should always remember that although the body of a hog, all right, or a pig is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It's not possible for an earthly pig or an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the entire planetary system, beginning from Satya Loka. The Lord is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, the Lord's assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. If you go to Tirupati, before you actually see Lord Vaikunthanath or Lord Venkateshwara, you actually go and see the Lord as in the form of Varahadev. In South India, there are many temples of Varahadev. Right? You go and see the Lord, you have darshan of the Lord as Varahadev, and then you also bathe in the Varaha Kund. But not many people do that. They straight away just go and see the Lord. But there's an actual process, there's an actual procedure where you see the Lord as incarnation of Varahadev. You bathe in the Varaha Kund. You have darshan of Varahadev, then you join the queue. Right? So the Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity, sometimes as fish, sometimes as tortoise. The gigantic feature of the boar was certainly very fearful for all the non-devotees. But to the pure devotees of the Lord, he was not at all fearful. On the contrary. Just like the form of the Lord as Narsinghadev gave so much of fear in the heart of Hiranyakashipu and in the hearts of all the demons. But in the heart of Prahlad Maharaj, who was the son of Hiranyakashipu, it just brought pure bliss to the son. Okay, pure bliss to Prahlad Maharaj. Right? So the Lord was not at all fearful, on the contrary. He was so pleasingly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt so much of transcendental happiness. So the Lord boar very easily took the earth on his tusk and got it out of water. And thus he appeared so splendid, just like this. You can see over here. And the boar incarnation, right, I explained. In different millenniums, the Lord can come in white form, sometimes in red form. So the boar incarnation was manifested in 2 millenniums, namely Swayambhuva and Chakshusha millennium. In both millenniums, there was a boar incarnation of the Lord. But in the Swayambhuva millennium, he lifted the earth from within the water of the universe, whereas in the Chakshusha millennium, he killed the first demon, Hiranyaksha. Okay, the Lord can have different activities in different millennium. In the Swayambhuva millennium, he assumed the color white, and in the Chakshusha millennium, he assumed the color red. Vidura had already heard about one of them, and therefore he wanted to hear about the other. The 2 different boar incarnations described are the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. Very easily explainable. So then, right, Maitreya Muni continues to explain that while we see all of these pastimes of the Lord, it's important to remember that the qualification of bhakti or devotional service of the Lord is that the devotee should be free from all material contaminations and desire. Right? It's not easy to get to that stage. But even if our bhakti is maybe contaminated. Only 2% is bhakti, the rest is material desire. It's okay. All right. Even if we are wanting to merge in the Brahman effulgence, we have that desire. All right. Still, we can engage in devotional service. Because even if it's 2%, even if it's polluted with material contamination and desire, it's fine, because in this whole process of engaging in some bhakti, our hearts will become cleaned, right? Just by the hearing process, that dirt which has been in the heart will just become removed slowly and slowly and slowly. And that 2% bhakti, right, which is contaminated with so much of desires, will one day become 100% bhakti. The process has to start somewhere. Like what my Guru Maharaj was telling, there was a devotee who had stopped chanting his Maha Mantra. Right? And that devotee went up to Maharaj and he was very open and saying that, I just got lost in this material world. And Maharaj told him, okay, never mind. From today, not tomorrow, from today, start chanting one round. And the devotee says, no, I will not do one round. I want to do 16 rounds straight away. Maharaj said, at least start with one, At least start with one. 16, we will see when you will reach it, but at least start with that one round first. And slowly you will get the taste. Slowly, the desire for devotional service will rebuild in your heart, and then it can increase and increase. Right? But it has to start somewhere. So by following the regulative principle, one is automatically freed from material desires. And in that pure state of mind, one can realize the God. But even if we are not there, it's fine. Because the Lord in our heart will at least start cleaning the desires in our heart like a washing machine. Okay. Yesterday in my class at Ceylon Road Temple, those students, they really ask some amazing questions. It's so great. It's like, wow. Because the rest of the students, actually, they learn so much through these questions. So one of the participants was actually asking, but how does the bhakti suddenly come in us? Right? How does the bhakti suddenly come in us? There are so many others, but why me? What have I done? So you can watch the recording where, we really go deep into this. It's not my point of view. It is exactly what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining. So in 3:13:42, O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non-moving, the earth is your wife, Bhumi Devi, and you are the Supreme Father. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you, along with Bhumi Devi, in whom you have invested your own potency. The so-called Lord of gravitation, which sustained the planet, is hereby described in the potency of the Lord. Okay, we will take a pause here. Next week, I'm actually traveling, but I can still do the class. Yeah, so I will not be in Singapore, but I'll be in Thailand, but I can actually take the class from 8 o'clock to 9:30 Thailand time, which is 9 o'clock to 10:30 over here. In case I can't do it because there's a ISKCON temple, I'm actually going to Phuket for a wedding. In case there is a class over there, then maybe I'll join the class over there. Let's see how. So I'll take a stop here and see if you have any questions. Shalini Mataji, any questions?
No, Prabhuji. I enjoyed the storytelling today.
Yeah, from now onwards, it's all storytelling. So please join. For the rest of us, you can ask your friends to also join. Karuna Mataji, thank you very much for your help. So we are engaging with Roshni.
Hare Krishna, sir. Yeah, she's joined already?
Not yet, not yet. There's some issue with the permit.
All right.
But I think by this week it will be all okay.
All right. Since I also come back today this morning.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Welcome
Yeah.
back.
Hare
By the way,
Krishna
Karuna
for
Mataji-
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Karuna Mataji was in Ujjain. You know,
Yes.
she went to Mahakal temple. Did you
Yes.
manage to go to Sandipani Muni Ashram?
No, sir, because it's so much raining, so we cannot move over there.
Yeah, it's quite far. All right.
Yes.
No worries.
Yes.
Next time. Anyone, any questions, any realizations you would like to share? Satya Mataji, any questions? No? Okay, Satya Mataji will be with me next week, so maybe we can do the class together in person.
I have one question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
So all these pastimes of the Lord, they are all written in, they are all written in the Bhagavatam. So they are all actually compiled by Ved Vyasji, right? So he got, so all these pastimes were told to him, or he realized it, because of his meditation, and then he wrote it down in Bhagavatam for us, like before Kali Yuga started.
Yeah, so if you look at the Puranas, the Upanishads, all of them will explain, and Ramayana, Mahabharata, all of them explain in greater detail, right? They are, if you look at the pastimes of Lord Ram, the pastimes of Varaha Dev, Narsingha Dev, they are very briefly described in Bhagavatam. If you want the full story, then you will have to go to the scriptures. But coming back to your point, essentially what Vyasadeva has done is, from his heart, while meditating on the Lord, all of this intelligence is given to him. All of these are his realizations, right? Even about 500 years ago, Sanatan Goswami, right? One of the empowered Goswamis of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could bring these learnings to the next level because of the realizations which were given to him, right? So all these pure devotees, they are like empowered. And let's not forget, Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation of Krishna himself. Okay, so these are all their realization. And therefore, what Vyasadeva was doing was, this, it's all there. But and Vyasadeva had already put it down all in scriptures. But then he felt something was lacking in his heart. And therefore, he was told by Narada Muni that you have forgotten the real essence is devotional service. The real essence is praising the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. Now do that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Venkatraman Prabhu, thank you very much for joining. Are you in Bangalore or in Chennai?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Chennai, Prabhu.
Chennai, yeah, wonderful. Okay, do you go to our Coastal Road temple?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
At least once in a month.
Yeah. All right, nice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Yeah.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Okay, have a great Sunday. And don't forget what we have learned in today's class. Try to make it a habit, because otherwise it's just a high for a while. But if you engage in doing this on a daily basis, then you will see that natural qualities of the soul, compassion, love for the Supreme Lord, happiness, natural happiness, spiritual happiness, even in a difficulty, etc., we'll all be so calm. There will not be a amygdala hijack in us. So scientifically researched by Professor Richardson. Yeah, and so all of this is there. It's nice because we are bringing modern day science and connecting it to spirituality. So thank you very much for your time today, and looking forward to your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhu.
you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Bye. You're welcome.